Welcome to Yeronga Quick Chat.
My name is Mariam and I'm a current Yeronga student.
My name is Trista and I'm a past Yeronga student. And today we're here with Associate Professor Kathomi.
Thank you. And what were we talking about today in our Women's Hub?
We were talking about intersectionality and how it's associated with identities.
Yeah. And what did we learn from the conversation today? Like, how would you define or think about intersectionality after our conversation today?
I think our conversation today helped me understand that I have more than one intersection. I personally focused only on my gender. And then I realized that I also have race intersection and also religious. Then it just made me realize that I have more than one intersection.
There are layers to what contributes to our experience and the way we grow up, but the way we approach life as well. From a women's perspective, but then a religious perspective, but also from a cultural perspective. That's what I've been learning.
And for me, I think also listening to the girls about the idea of, everybody has a cultural framework. It's not just something that is reserved for some and not for others. The family that you grew up with is a subculture. It taught you values, ideas, ways of thinking, ways of moving into the world. And all those ways, influence the way you move and interact with the world as well, And so the intersections that you mentioned, either of gender or race or religion or culture or even age, there is certain scripts from our cultures about how the stereotypes for each and every one of those identities, isn't it? So what are some of the stereotypes that you unpacked today for some of the identities that you're in?
Stereotypes.
Like some of the ideas that, when we talked about the stereotypes that the society has on women and girls.
Right. I think it's kind of related to stereotypes is the value of women. How the value of women is associated to the treatment of women, how the way you look, the way you act, the way you're perceived even, definitely contributes to the way you're treated.
Totally. Yeah. What about you? Is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
About one of the girls was talking about how you can also get treated badly because of your choices, and I definitely think that's true because people think I'm wearing modestly because of my religion, but my religion doesn't really force me to do it. It's really within you, your choice. So it's really my choice that I'm dressing modestly. It's not my religion, but my religion also contributes to that choice of mine, but it's mainly my choice. And people think it's religion. They think you're oppressed or something just because you're doing something that you want to do and not.
And also people forgetting that they are also influenced by other things
Their
to make
own
the choices that they make, the choice to drink or not to drink, the choice to wear a particular thing and not to wear a particular thing. None of our choices come from a vacuum. We are all influenced by something. It might not be religion, but it might be media, it might be social media, it might be the books you read, it might be the family you come from. So we are all a combination of all the things and of the things that make us think and act and feel a certain way, So what about the way we finished the session in thinking about creating solidarity? the concept of Ubuntu and creating good relationships to support each other.
I think other than taking away that message, I found two things. I found out two things. The first is like how in one's own culture you can't find it. What was I gonna say? So the first thing is the way your culture. So in my culture, it's very much about obedience. Well, culture, not religion. That's completely different. It's about the way you behave. It's obedience, the way women choose to do things, but also try not to make choices. Whereas in white culture, like Australian culture, I find that it's more about the way you look. That's like a comparison I found. The second thing was that. So the second thing I found was the correlation between the value of women or the treatment of women, the value of women, and law itself. For example, we were talking about how for a period we in Australia people just stopped smoking, right? But then it came back through vaping. You kind of linked that from that to how catcalling was stopped for a while, but then it came back through social media. I was thinking about that and how it's sort of in law. We started to recognize how harassment is a thing, how public indecency and public behavior is it is viewed. So in law we've come to recognize that women are being harassed on the streets, that can be something you can get fined for. Whereas on social media, there's not much like regulations and laws around social media right now, which we're hoping to improve on, which might impact the way catcalling happens, like the rating system from 1 to 10. How would you rate this girl? How would you rate that girl? What is the value of this woman? Through social media, if more regulations are created around social media, then that can even change that culture. So I find that there's a huge correlation between culture and the law.
100%. And also the idea that culture changes.
Exactly.
It's not static. It's not the thing that, because I think sometimes people can defend their cultural view so vehemently without realizing that culture also changes with the law, with times, with media, with education, that it doesn't remain static, isn't it? And so when we are able also to change our views and thinking about some things, we are also able to go, that's a view that I'm happy to change, but also that's a view I'm happy to keep and defend and explore more about it. Same as smoking. And catcalling, and maybe people now will be more influenced about their behaviors online. Once the law is able to is evolving around that.
So
what about your thoughts about community and building community as a way of managing different intersections as we wrap up?
I think it's really important because sometimes women can feel more connected with the same gender, and I feel like it's important that we have a space where we can connect with the same gender and share same experiences.
Absolutely. Just building community is such a gift, because life is already long. I know we say life is short, but life can also be long, and it's hard to do it alone in silos with our friends, with our community, and with our people who share in our experiences. So the more we are able to build that skill of building good relationships where we support ourselves and others, I think the more we'll be able to deal with the more challenging aspects of our intersections that might be painful and difficult to deal with on a day-to-day.
I think it definitely helps where it might be a bit difficult for someone to be like, I accept the way I am, and their experience can be a bit limited from just one person going, I think this part of me is okay, whereas if a community comes together and says, these parts of us are okay, it definitely elevates that elevates the the way people experience life.
Totally,
That makes
100%.
sense.
You know, because we have an African proverb that says one single stick smokes, but an entire collection of sticks produces a fire. You know, so it's kind of like the same thing. With one experience, it's easy to feel like, oh, I'm not really sure.
Exactly.
But when you're together, bundled together, you know, it's no longer a smoking stick. It's a big fire to be able to illuminate into the experiences that you might be having collectively. Yeah. It's been lovely getting to know you girls.
It's been amazing to hear from you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
so
you
thank
for-
you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yes.